Greetings, friends. Welcome to an immersive journey into the chilling, profound, and unforgettable world of Stephen King, the undisputed master of horror whose novels The Shining and The Long Walk have terrified, inspired, and haunted readers for generations. These aren't just books, they're portals into the human psyche, weaving terror, heartbreak, and resilience into stories that linger long after the final page. Today, I'm diving deeper than ever before to uncover how King crafted these masterpieces, sharing his own words, revealing the personal and cultural forces behind them, highlighting their most gripping moments, and exploring their seismic impact on literature and beyond. We'll hear from fellow authors, critics, and fans, delve into controversies, and discover why these novels are essential reading. So, dim the lights, brace yourselves, and let's step into the eerie universe of Stephen King. Behind the scenes, the creation of horror masterpieces. When I think of Stephen King, I envision a man wrestling with his demons at a typewriter, transforming everyday fears into literary nightmares. His writing process is a blend of discipline, intuition, and raw emotion, often rooted in his life in Maine and his personal struggles. For it, published in 1986, King drew on his childhood in Durham, Maine, where small-town life was both idyllic and shadowed by unseen dangers. In a 1986 Bangor Daily News interview, he said, "It came from memories of growing up in a small town, where kids roamed free but always felt a shadow lurking. I wanted to capture that fear of the unknown." Writing the 1,138-page epic took over 4 years, with King researching childhood psychology, urban legends, and even Derry's sewer systems to ground the fictional town in reality. He visited local archives, studying Maine's history, including racial tensions that inspired the Black Spot Fire in the novel. He also interviewed kids to understand their fears, noting in a 1987 Time interview, "Kids see monsters adults ignore. That's what makes them vulnerable and powerful." The Shining, 1977, was born from a haunting stay at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado. King, then a struggling writer battling alcoholism, stayed in room 217 with his wife, Tabitha. In a 1997 The Paris Review interview, he recalled, "I dreamed of my son running from a fire hose that came alive. That night, I knew I had a story." The Overlook Hotel became a mirror for King's fears of losing control to addiction, which he channeled into Jack Torrance's Descent. He researched alcoholism's psychological toll, consulting therapists, and studied the history of grand hotels, from their Gilded Age opulence to their ghostly legends. The Stanley's isolation during a snowstorm shaped the novel's claustrophobic dread. King later shared in on writing, 2000, "The Shining was me asking, what if the monster is you? I was writing about my own darkness." The Long Walk, published in 1979 as Richard Bachman, was written when King was a 19-year-old college student, angry about the Vietnam War draft. In a 1985 introduction to the Bachman books, he wrote, "I wrote The Long Walk when I was 19, full of anger and fear about the draft and Vietnam. It's about what happens when society pushes kids to their limits." He researched dystopian literature like 1984, military endurance tests, and psychological studies on group dynamics to craft the brutal walking contest. King's own poverty as a young writer, working odd jobs to survive, infused the novel with desperation. He told the New York Times in 1989, "The Long Walk was my way of screaming at a world that didn't care about kids like me." These books faced significant hurdles. It stirred controversy for its graphic content, particularly a scene in the sewers involving the Losers Club, which some readers found disturbing. King defended it in a 2013 The Atlantic interview, saying, "That scene was about kids finding strength in unity, not anything exploitative, but I get why it shocks. It's meant to." The Shining was criticized for its raw portrayal of alcoholism and domestic abuse, with some calling it too bleak. In a 1983 Playboy interview, King responded, "I wrote what I knew addiction is a monster, and I wanted to show its ugliness." The Long Walk was rejected by publishers for its grim tone, forcing King to use the Bachman pseudonym. He wrote in on writing, 2000, "Bachman let me write things I was afraid to publish under my name. The Long Walk was too raw for the world then." King also faced personal struggles, battling addiction during The Shining and financial hardship during The Long Walk, which added authenticity to his character's pain. What are these books about? Plots and deeper themes. Let's dive into the novels. It is an epic tale of 7 friends, the Losers Club in Derry, Maine, battling a shape-shifting entity that preys on children, often as Pennywise the dancing clown. The story alternates between their childhood in 1958 and adulthood in 1985. As they confront their fears and Derry's dark history, it's about childhood trauma, the power of friendship, and the cyclical nature of evil. King said in a 1986 Time interview, "It is about how kids see the world differently, they face monsters adults ignore." The novel explores how fear shapes us, how memory binds us to our past, and how collective belief can defeat even cosmic horrors. It also tackles social issues like bullying, racism, and abuse, grounding the supernatural in real-world pain. The Shining follows Jack Torrance, a recovering alcoholic and aspiring writer, who takes a winter caretaker job at the isolated Overlook Hotel with his wife, Wendy, and son, Danny. Danny's psychic shining ability awakens the hotel's malevolent spirits, which drive Jack to madness. It's a story of addiction, isolation, and supernatural horror. In a 2001 BBC interview, King noted, "The Shining is about a man fighting his demons, both the ones in his head and the ones in the hotel." It delves into family dynamics, the fragility of sanity, and the weight of personal failure, with the Overlook as a metaphor for inner turmoil. The Long Walk is a dystopian nightmare where 100 teenage boys compete in a brutal contest, walk without stopping, maintain a minimum speed, or face execution. The last walker wins. Ray Garrity grapples with exhaustion, camaraderie, and despair. It's an allegory for societal pressure and survival. King wrote in the Bachman books, 1985, "The Long Walk is about kids caught in a system that doesn't care if they live or die. It's about endurance and defiance." The novel probes conformity, mortality, and the cost of rebellion, reflecting fears of dehumanization in authoritarian systems. Thematically, these novels are profound. It examines how childhood fears linger, the strength of friendship, and the battle against internalized and external evil. The Shining explores addiction as both a personal and supernatural force, questioning whether we can escape our demons. The Long Walk critiques societal control, the sacrifice of youth, and the psychological toll of relentless competition. All three confront the human spirit's fragility and resilience, asking what it takes to survive overwhelming odds. King's ability to blend universal fears with personal struggles makes these stories timeless. Most memorable moments. It is a treasure trove of haunting scenes. The opening, where Georgie Denbrough chases his paper boat into a storm drain and meets Pennywise's grinning face, is iconic. "We all float down here," still sends shivers down my spine. The Losers Club facing Pennywise in the sewers as kids, wielding their belief like a weapon, is both terrifying and empowering. The adult Losers reunion in Derry, piecing together forgotten traumas, is deeply moving, especially Beverly's confrontation with her abusive past. The final battle against its spider-like true form is a cosmic horror spectacle, blending fear and awe, and the moment when Bill faces his guilt over Georgie's death is heartbreakingly human. The Shining is packed with unforgettable moments. The scene where Danny sees the ghostly twin girls in the hallway, chanting "Come play with us, Danny, forever," is pure dread. Jack's descent, typing "all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy endlessly," is a chilling portrait of madness. The hedge animals coming to life, stalking Danny in the snow, are surreal and terrifying. The boiler explosion that destroys the Overlook is a heart-pounding climax, and Wendy's desperate fight to save Danny as Jack hunts them with a roque mallet is raw, emotional, and unforgettable. The Long Walk is relentless in its intensity. The moment when the first walker is shot for slowing down sets the brutal tone, shocking you into the stakes. The scene where Garrity bonds with McVreese, sharing stories of their lives as they trudge on, is heartbreakingly human amid the horror. Stebbins' psychological unraveling, revealing his enigmatic motives, is gripping and mysterious. The nightmarish moment when walkers hallucinate from exhaustion, seeing loved ones in the crowd, blurs reality and despair. And the ambiguous ending, where Garrity keeps walking, leaves you haunted, questioning the cost of survival. Why should you read them? Why am I so passionate about these books? First, their emotional journeys. It makes you laugh with the Losers' banter, cry over their pain, and shiver at Pennywise's terror. The Shining pulls you into Jack's struggle and Danny's fear, making every moment visceral. The Long Walk is a gut punch, forcing you to confront mortality and resilience. Second, they teach profound lessons. It shows the power of friendship and courage. The Shining reveals addiction's devastating toll, and The Long Walk questions societal norms. King wrote in on writing, 2000, "I write to understand the world and myself. I hope readers find their own truths." He delivers. Third, they're timeless. It resonates with anyone who's faced childhood fears or found strength in friends. The Shining speaks to personal battles, whether with addiction or self-doubt. The Long Walk feels eerily relevant in a world of relentless competition and pressure. Fourth, King's prose is accessible, conversational yet evocative, like a friend telling a ghost story by a campfire. Fifth, they inspire action. After it, I wanted to reconnect with old friends. The Shining sent me researching haunted hotels and addiction recovery. The Long Walk had me pondering dystopian futures and societal ethics. These books don't just entertain, they spark curiosity, reflection, and even courage. Finally, they're cultural touchstones. They've shaped how we view horror. From clowns to haunted hotels to dystopian contests, they challenge you to face your fears and question the world. As King said in a 2013 Rolling Stone interview, horror is about confronting what scares us most. If I can make you feel that, I've done my job. Cultural impact and controversies. It became a cultural juggernaut. The 1990 miniseries with Tim Curry as Pennywise and the 2017/2019 films with Bill Skarsgård made the clown a horror icon. Libraries reported surges in horror book checkouts, and clown phobia skyrocketed, sorry to any circus performers. The novel sold over 10 million copies and remains a horror staple, but controversies arose, particularly over the sewer scene, which some deemed inappropriate. Schools and libraries banned the book, prompting King to say in The Atlantic, 2013, "Censorship doesn't stop kids from feeling fear, it just stops them from understanding it." The scene's intent, to show the losers' unity, was overshadowed by its shock value, sparking debates about artistic boundaries. The Shining redefined horror. Stanley Kubrick's 1980 film, though King disliked it for straying from the book, cemented its legacy. In a 2013 Rolling Stone interview, King said, "Kubrick's film is cold, my book is hot with emotion, but it brought my story to millions." The novel's raw portrayal of addiction and domestic abuse resonated, sparking discussions in recovery groups and therapy circles. It sold over 5 million copies and inspired works like Dr. Sleep, 2013, King's sequel, and its 2019 film. Some critics called it too grim, but its emotional depth won over readers. The Long Walk, published as Bachman, gained a cult following after King's identity was revealed in 1985. Its stark dystopian vision influenced works like The Hunger Games and Battle Royale. Some criticized its bleakness, but King defended it in the Bachman books, 1985, saying, "It's bleak because life can be. I wanted to show that truth." The novel's exploration of authoritarian control and youth sacrifice feels prophetic in today's competitive world. A film adaptation is in development, signaling its enduring appeal. King's influence on horror is seismic. Post The Shining, horror novels surged in popularity, blending psychological and supernatural elements. It birthed ensemble horror, inspiring shows like Stranger Things. The Long Walk paved the way for dystopian YA fiction. King's ability to make the ordinary terrifying. Clowns, hotels, walking redefined the genre. What others say. Authors, critics, and fans have lauded King's genius. Dean Koontz, in a 1987 Los Angeles Times review, called it a terrifying epic that captures the primal fears of childhood. And Rice, in a 1990 The New York Times piece, said of The Shining, "King turns a haunted hotel into a mirror of the human soul. It's brilliant." John Grisham, in a 2000 Entertainment Weekly interview, noted, "The Long Walk is lean and brutal, proof King can write beyond horror." Joyce Carol Oates, in a 1986 The New Yorker review, wrote, "King's strength is his empathy, his characters feel like real people facing unreal terrors." Critics echoed the praise. The New York Times called it a sprawling masterpiece of horror and heart. The Guardian praised The Shining as a chilling study of madness and redemption. Publishers Weekly lauded The Long Walk for its unflinching look at human endurance. Readers on platforms like Goodreads share, "It made me afraid of clowns but love my friends more. The Shining kept me up checking locks, and The Long Walk left me questioning what I'd do to survive." Even filmmaker Guillermo del Toro tweeted in 2017, "King's It is a monument to childhood and terror. It's why I make movies." King's ability to terrify and touch hearts is unmatched. In conclusion, friends, It, The Shining, and The Long Walk are more than horror novels, they're mirrors of our fears, hopes, and resilience. As King wrote in On Writing, 2000, "Monsters are real, and ghosts are real too. They live inside us, and sometimes, they win." These books challenge us to face those monsters, whether they're clowns, haunted hotels, or a society that demands too much. They're not just scary, they're human, raw, and unforgettable. They inspire us to reconnect with friends, confront personal demons, and question societal rules. So, grab these novels, dim the lights, and dive into the terror. Then come back and tell me which moment, Pennywise's grin, Jack's madness, or Garrity's last step, haunted you most. I'm waiting.